Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. We are here for the 13th lecture of Introduction to Biochemistry, and the topic is physical and chemical properties of various classes of carbohydrates. In this lecture we will discuss about the carbohydrates briefly, then we will discuss about the physical and chemical properties of monosaccharides, disaccharides, oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. In our previous lecture, we have discussed about the introduction and classification of carbohydrates. So, in this lecture, briefly, carbohydrates are the most abundant biomolecules present in the nature and consists of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen atoms. Usually, the hydrogen and oxygen are present in the ratio of 2:1 in the carbohydrates, which is as similar as in the water. So technically carbohydrates are the hydrates of carbon, which is the previous definition or historic definition of the carbohydrates. So the empirical formula for the carbohydrates is CmH2ON, in which the number of carbon atoms, oxygen and hydrogen can be different in different carbohydrates. You can see the two formulas of two different carbohydrates here in this slide. The first one is carbohydrate glucose. Its formula is C6H12O6, and the other is DNase sugar, which is deoxyribose, and the formula is C5H10O4. So you can see the difference in these formulas clearly. So the ratio can be different in different carbohydrates. Generally, different terms we can use for the carbohydrates. For example, these terms can be saccharides or the sugars. So they are closely related with each other. So saccharides are a group that includes sugars, starch and cellulose, and these saccharides are divided into four the chemical groups, which are monosaccharides, disaccharides, oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. So monosaccharides and disaccharides are the smallest molecules or lower molecular weight molecules of carbohydrates and are commonly referred as the sugars. So the term sugar is applied to carbohydrates which are soluble in water and sweeter in taste. So carbohydrates typically break down in the animal body to release the energy, and the most important carbohydrate in the body is glucose. So carbohydrates may be defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketone, or the compounds that yield these derivatives on their hydrolysis. So there are two conditions as present in this definition. The first one is the compound should be a polyhydroxy compound, which means it should have multi-hydroxyl groups which are present in their structure. The second condition is that these compounds should have a functional group, either aldehyde or a ketone. So if we say a compound is a carbohydrate, it should contain a polyhydroxy group, polyhydroxyl or multi-hydroxyl group in their structure, and they also possess a functional group as aldehyde or a ketone in their structure. For example, here are the two examples of carbohydrates. The first one is glucose and the second one is fructose. If you see the structure of these compounds, you can see that these are the polyhydroxy compounds. For example, in case of glucose, the hydroxyl group is present on C2, C3, C4, C5 and C6, whereas it possesses a aldehyde group on the C1. In case of fructose, it is also a polyhydroxy compound and possess a functional group which is a ketone and present at the C2. So both of these are polyhydroxy compounds and also possess a functional group at the same time. So these fulfill all the conditions which are present in this definition. According to this definition, these are carbohydrates because these are polyhydroxy compounds and as also contain the functional group as aldehyde or the ketone in their structure. So quickly, here's a brief picture of the functions of the carbohydrates. So they are the most important in the energy production. They also present in the intermediates of the metabolism. They form the storage form of the energy. They also are the structural components. They are the fibers constitute of the nucleotides. For example, they are the structural component of DNA and RNA. They also helps in the detoxification process. So these are the major and foremost function of the carbohydrates. Though these are not the complete, beside these major functions, there are a lot of other functions of the carbohydrates as well. So previously, we also have discussed the classification of carbohydrates in detail, but briefly, carbohydrates can be classified into three major classes. The first one is monosaccharides, which are the most simplest sugars and cannot be further hydrolyzed into simple sugars. The second one is oligosaccharides. These oligosaccharides are the combination of different monosaccharides, and 2 to 10 simple monosaccharide units can be present in the oligosaccharides, or we can say that they can form the oligosaccharides. These oligosaccharides can further be divided into disaccharides, trisaccharides, and tetrasaccharides according to the number of the sugar units which are present in their structure. The third broadly classified or class of the carbohydrate is polysaccharides, and these polysaccharides are a huge. These polysaccharides contain a huge number of monosaccharides or the simple sugars in their structure. These polysaccharides can further be classified into homopolysaccharides, which means they possess the same type of the monosaccharides in their structure. The heteropolysaccharides, heteropolysaccharides may have different type of sugar units in their structure at the same time. So monosaccharides, these are the simplest, most sugars, and we can define monosaccharides as these are the simplest sugars which cannot be further hydrolyzed into the smaller units. So they have only one actual or potential sugar groups in their structure and are called monosaccharides. In Greek, the mono means one and saccharide means sugar. The general formula for the monosaccharides is, as we already described, the empirical formula of carbohydrate is CnH2nOn, or in other words Cn under bracket H2ON, where the N varies from 3 to 7 carbons or numbers. So monosaccharides are sweeter in taste. These are crystalline in character, soluble in water, and commonly known as sugars. Here are some most common examples of the monosaccharides present in this table. The first one is trioses. Glyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone are the examples of trioses, and both of these are the intermediates of glycolysis. Dihydroxyacetone is the precursor of the glycerol, which is important in the biosynthesis of lipids. Tetroses, example is D-erythrose, and this is an intermediate of carbohydrate metabolism. Pentoses, D-ribose and deoxyribose Both of these are the structural element of nucleic acid. D-ribose is the structural element for the RNA, while deoxyribose is the structural component for the DNA. Here are some hexoses are also present. There, for example, the first one is D-glucose. We know that it's the main sugar for the body, and D-fructose. This D-fructose converted to glucose and utilized by the body. And the difference between the glucose and fructose is glucose and fructose having the same chemical formula, which is C6H12O6, but the difference is glucose is an aldose while the fructose is a ketose sugar. Another example for hexoses is D-galactose, and this is synthesized in the mammary gland and important in the formation of the lactose, which is a milk sugar. D-mannose is a constituent of glycoprotein or the glycolipids. Now, coming for the present lecture, here are some important properties for the monosaccharides. The first one is physical properties, while the next is the chemical properties of the monosaccharides. While talking about the properties of the carbohydrates, first of all, we should know about the reference carbon atom of the sugars. The reference carbon atom is also known as penultimate carbon atom. So penultimate carbon atom is the second last atom of the chain, or we can say it's the last chiral or asymmetric carbon of the chain. So this penultimate carbon atom, or in other words the reference carbon atom, is important for naming the sugars. Almost all the monosaccharides have this penultimate carbon. As you can see, the structure of D-glyceraldehyde, which is present in this slide, it has a 3 carbon chain and have only one asymmetric carbon in their structure. So the only asymmetric carbon is the penultimate carbon for D-glyceraldehyde, and successive carbon units can be added on this structure. So almost all the monosaccharides can be considered as molecules which are derived from the glyceraldehyde by the successive addition of carbon units in the structure. So we can say glyceraldehyde is the most simple monosaccharide, or the most simple triose with one asymmetric carbon atom. It exists as 2 stereoisomers and has been chosen as the reference carbohydrate to represent the structure of all the other carbohydrates. So now the properties of the monosaccharides. The first of all, physical properties, or we can say it's the isomerism properties of the monosaccharides. The second one is the chemical reactions for the monosaccharide. So isomerism is the phenomena in which more than one compounds have the same chemical formula but different chemical structures. So chemical compounds that have identical chemical formula but differ in their properties and the arrangements of the atom in the molecule are called isomers. So, and the phenomena of existence of these isomers is known as isomerism. There are 2 types of isomerism. The first one is structural isomerism and the second is stereoisomerism. While talking about the structural isomerisms, the structural isomers are also known as constitutional isomers. This is the type of isomers in which molecules with the same molecular formula have different bonding pattern and atomic organization. This is totally opposite to the stereoisomers, in which the molecular bonds are always in the same order and only spatial arrangement is different. The first type of structural isomerism is aldose-ketose isomerism. We know that carbohydrates are present in 2 forms, aldose form or the ketose form. due to the presence of two different functional groups in their structure. If we talk about the glucose and fructose, both of these have same chemical formula C6H12O6 but contain two different functional groups. We know that glucose have aldehyde in their group in their structure, while the fructose possess a ketone group in their structure, but they have the same chemical formula, which is C6H12O6. So these are the structural isomers, and exhibit aldose ketose isomerism. So glucose and fructose isomers of each other, having the same chemical formula C6H12O6 but with the different functional group aldose and ketose. So they are structural isomers of each other. Here you can see the structure of D-glucose and D-fructose. Both possess a formula C6H12O6, but glucose possess an aldehyde group at their first carbon, while the fructose, which also possess a C6H12O6 chemical formula, but on the second carbon, its a ketone group is present. So these are the structural isomers of each other and show the aldose ketose isomerism. The next is stereoisomerism or the stereoisomers. So this is a form of isomerism in which molecules have the same molecular formula and the sequence of bonded atoms, but they differ in their three-dimensional orientation of their atoms in the space. So, in other words, the compounds having same structural formula but differing in their spatial configuration are known as stereoisomers. While writing the molecular formula of monosaccharides, the spatial arrangement of hydrogen and hydroxyl group are important since they contain asymmetric carbon atoms. So first of all, what is asymmetric carbon atom? Asymmetric carbon means a carbon atom which possesses four different groups which are attached to that same carbon. So asymmetric carbon allows the formation of stereoisomerism. So this asymmetric carbon atom is also known as chiral carbon. The reference molecule is glyceraldehyde, which is also known as glycerose. This has a single asymmetric carbon atom in their structure, as we have already discussed in a previous slide. So asymmetric carbon form the basis of the number of possible stereoisomers depends on the number of asymmetric carbon atoms and by the formula 2n, where n is the number of asymmetric carbon atoms. For example, glyceraldehyde has only one asymmetric carbon in their structure at the number 2 carbon, and it is therefore exists in two isomeric forms. It's a D-glyceraldehyde and the L-glyceraldehyde. The monosaccharides exhibit different type of isomerisms. The first one is D and L isomerism. The second is optical isomerism, apomerism, and anomerism. In case of D and L isomerism, an enantiomer is the class which deals with this type of isomerism, which are related to each other by the reflection. So they form their mirror image and are non-superposable. So they are also known as enantiomers. In case of or with reference to the penultimate carbon atom, which is the last asymmetric carbon of the chain, the configuration of H and OH group is changed and the two mirror images are produced. As you can see, in case of glyceraldehyde, which we have know that the C2 is the penultimate carbon, or the second carbon is the only asymmetric carbon of the glyceraldehyde. The orientation of H on OH form the D and their L form. If the OH group is present on the right side of the penultimate or the reference carbon of glyceraldehyde is present, then it will be a diglyceraldehyde. And if the hydroxyl or OH group is present on the left side of the asymmetric carbon or the chiral carbon, or in other words the penultimate carbon atom, then it will the L orientation of the glyceraldehyde. So the orientation of hydroxyl group on the penultimate carbon atom forms the two mirror images, which are the D and their L form. In case of D-glucose, the penultimate carbon is C5. Orientation of hydroxyl group can form their D and L configuration. In case of optical isomerism, we know that optical activity is the capacity of a substance to rotate the plane polarized light passing through it. The presence of asymmetric carbon atom in the structure of carbohydrate causes the optical activity. When a beam of plane polarized light is passed through the solution of a carbohydrate, it will rotate the light either to the right direction or to the left direction. If the light rotates to right direction or the clockwise direction, the substance is said to be dextrorotatory, and it will be denoted as smaller d or with a plus sign. But if the light rotates to the left or anti-clockwise direction, the substance is said to be the levorotatory, and it will be denoted as the by the smaller l or by the negative sign. The one thing is to be memorized that the capital D and capital L is totally different from these two dextrorotatory and levorotatory signs. The capital D and capital L exhibit the enantiomerism or the D&L isomerism of the carbohydrates, while this smaller d and smaller l are the signs for the dextrorotatory and the levorotatory substances. When an equal amount of D and L isomers are present in the solution or the mixture, that mixture is said to be racemic mixture or the D and L mixture. So D-glucose is a dextrorotatory, while the D-fructose is a levorotatory carbohydrate. The equimolecular mixture, or in other words, the racemic mixture of optical isomers has no net rotation. Herosky was the scientist who was awarded Nobel Prize in 1959 for polarographic analysis of sugars. Here is a diagram of the polarimeter in which a light source is present, a polarizer is present, a sample tube in which the sample is present, and the last one is the analyzer and the view. Here's the complete diagram of the polarimeter in which the optical activity of an substance can be measured. Apomerism. When the sugars are different from each other only in a configuration with regard to a single carbon atom, which is other than reference carbon atom, they are called as apomers. For example, glucose and mannose, we can say they are the apomeric pair of each other because they differ only with respect to the C2. As you can see in the picture in this slide, similarly, glucose and galactose are also the apomeric pair, and the only difference is at the C4. You can also see the difference in this structure. So the glucose and galactose are different from the C4 at the C4 carbon, while they have the same orientation except the C4, while in case of glucose and mannose, the difference is present on the C2. The OH and H orientation is different at C2 in this apimeric pair. The next is aneurysm. So first of all, if we want to study the aneurysm, so we have to understand three representation of the monosaccharide structure, which are the open chain structure, the Fisher's formula, and the Haworth formula. So monosaccharides can be structurally represented in any of the three forms. Most commonly, they are formed in their Haworth structure, which is the cyclic form of their structure. So the first is open chain structure. The open chain projection formula and the hemiacetal ring structure of the glucose were proposed by the Emil Fischer in 1883, and hence this is called as Fischer's formula. Fischer was awarded Nobel Prize in 1902. Here you can see the straight structure of the glucose, which is a 6-carbon compound, and the chemical formula is C6H12O6. As we know the structure of carbohydrates, they are present as aldoses and ketoses due to their functional group. When the alcohols react with their functional group or the carbonyl group of aldehydes and ketones, they form hemiacetals and hemiketals. If the alcohol react with the aldehyde group of the carbohydrate, they form hemiacetals, and if it reacts with the ketone groups, it will form hemiketals. Further, these hemiacetals and hemiketals reacts intramolecularly to form their cyclic hemiacetals and hemiketals. Here you can see the formation of hemiacetals and hemiketals in these reactions. The next is a ring structure or the cyclic structure, or in other words, it's a Haworth structure. The configuration of the sugar rings are conveniently represented by their cyclic structures. A sugar with a 6-membered ring is known as a pyranose, or in analogy with the pyran, the simplest compound containing such a ring. Similarly, sugar with a 5-membered ring are designated as a furanose, or in analogy with the furan. The cyclic form of glucose and fructose with 6 and 5-member rings are therefore known as glucopyranose and fructopyranose respectively. So this concept was established by a scientist, Sir Walter Haworth, in 1925, and he got his Nobel Prize in 1937. Here you can see the structure of glucopyranose and a glucofuranose or fructofuranose. So glucose is present in a pyran form, while fructose, having the ketone group in their structure, form the furanose, which is a 5-membered ring. Here you can see the formation of alpha-D-glucopyranose and alpha-D-fructofuranose. You know that alpha-D-glucopyranose is formed from the D-glucose, while the alpha-D-fructofuranose is formed from the D-fructose. In case of D-glucose, the first carbon, which have an aldehyde group, is condensed with the C5 to form a ring. The ring structure represents its hemiacetal form, which is the condensation of an aldehyde with the hydroxyl group. In case of fructose, the functional or ketone group is present on C2. So the second carbon condense with the C5 and form a fructofuranose. So its ring structure is also exhibit its hemiketal form. So in anomirism, because of the cyclization of sugars, an additional asymmetric carbon center is created at C1, and this asymmetric center is also known as anomeric carbon. This leads to the formation of two isomers, namely alpha and beta. In case of glucose, it will be alpha D glucopyranose and alpha D glucopyranose. We know that in solution, glucose predominantly exists as a closed chain or cyclic form, in its cyclic form. So it will be an alpha D glucopyranose, or it will be in the form of beta D glucopyranose. Here you can see another representation of the anomerism of glucose. Here you can see at the C1 the anomeric carbon atom is present, and if you see the alpha configuration of the D glucopyranose, or it's the Haworth formula of glucose, if the OH or hydroxyl group is present at the lower side of CN, then it will be a alpha D glucopyranose. And if you see the beta D configuration, then you will see that the hydroxyl group is present at the upper side of the C1. So in case of alpha D glucopyranose, the hydroxyl group is present at the lower side, while in case of beta D glucopyranose, the hydroxyl group is present on the upper side. So the alpha D glucopyranose is predominantly present in the solution. In case of beta D, it's a less predominant form. Dear students, thank you so much for having time and listening me. You can also consult these topics from these books. Hopefully, it will help you a lot. You can also ask me the questions as well. And till now, it's all about what we have discussed is stay safe and do well. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.